Okay, are we live? Yep, we're live. We got some audio coming in too. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm just wrapping up, making some commits from where we left off last time. Last stream we did some polishing on the custom inspector stuff. In particular, we made a much better, more robust API for handling multi-mixed values for things like multi-component rotations and transforms and stuff. And we wound up re-implementing the transform component using that API, so it's all working nice. In the time since, I have made that a pull request for IMGUI, so if the guys at IMGUI, if Oscar merges it, then everybody will be able to do mixed drag scalars. And I am currently committing the custom inspector GUI stuff that we've been working on. After that, we're going to get to work on the content browser, or the content drawer. I'm not sure what I want to call it yet, but the window that does your content. Yeah, that should be fun. Yep, so this needs to go in because, yeah, I am very particular about what I commit and what I don't. Because sometimes I'll just be playing with something in the engine and I want to leave that code in my current repo but not actually commit it. And at the same time not add it to my get_ignore because I may want to commit changes to that section in the future. On sprite inspector, yep. Set depth test. I want to commit that, but not the depth test. And then the on sprite inspector, yep. Oops. And we're deliberately skipping changes to the renderer itself because we're going to be overhauling it eventually. Yep, register component inspector. Yeah, we're not going to stage that because we're going to be doing a material system soon enough. But cool. And all of this needs to go. Contents directory. That's part of what we're going to be doing next, so I'll leave it uncommitted. This is just a little rename for a few things in the input system. I see a change for input, particularly mouse input on the horizon. I may do that on stream. I may do it off stream, but it's an interesting topic, so maybe I'll stream it. Check has component functions, and check entity has component type. Yep, all this needs to be staged. Okay, yep. See, make lists. Yeah, we're adding EPIM GUI. We are not adding free type. That's something I added from when I was playing around this weekend. We did need to add the IMGUI include, and we needed to add this, but we're gonna deliberately skip adding IMGUI free type because that's not part of this. Whoops, I accidentally added part of IMGUI free type. Let me fix that. That's this. Let me unstage selected ranges. There we go. Let's get EPIM GUI and the IMGUI include. Good. Nearly done. Good, good. And then, of course, we're skipping everything in test game. Sweet, so I think that's everything. Added custom inspector API. Component inspector API. Cool. That's that. All right, and that puts us 7 commits ahead of what's on the cloud. Let me do a quick comparison and make sure that I'm ready to push all of this. Yeah. Yeah, looks good to me. Let's push those up to the cloud. Those should be on GitHub any minute. Cool. And now we're up to the current. Nice. All right, F7. Rerun and rebuild everything. Everything should still be working. go, throwing up my... You can't see it, but I just opened up my core temp so I can see my CPU temperatures. Sweet, now all those are on GitHub. That's interesting. I wasn't aware that the forked branch would actually run jobs. How is there a failure? I just used it. Whatever. Cool. Built. Run it. All right. Everything should be working. Cool. Same old song and dance. We've got the scene. We've got the hierarchy with the new mixed values, which we can directly set in the inspector. We can play with the UVs and all that jazz. Sweet. All right, so where did we last leave off? In the last stream, we started working on the content window, this guy, and we barely got started. I'll make this its own panel on the right, and I'll make this one. I'll make the hierarchy and inspector wee little thing underneath the viewport, like that. All right, so all we got going is basically we just are listing off the names of all the files inside of the content directory. You'll notice that there's a couple of emojis in here and Japanese glyphs. I was playing around with Unicode stuff over the weekend, and I added, for the sake of testing, I added a couple of files with emojis and Japanese text in the file names, and I loaded up a Japanese and emoji font in IMGUI to play around with them, confirm that they're all working. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. That's not the topic of today. So what do we want out of this? What I want is an inspector where you can see icons and previews of certain things, and you can double click on them to open, and you can drag and drop where appropriate to fields in the inspector or into the scene window itself. I'm going to open up Unity's inspector, and I may as well open up Unreal's inspector because we'll be referencing those while we design the content panel. So to begin with, we're going to want to have icons for each file. We'll worry about making it look pretty later, but for the moment, just little icons that you can double click on to open. Perhaps the ability to navigate through folders. Actually, yeah, the ability to navigate through folders is probably more important, so we'll start there. Just loading up. loading up Unity and Unreal, and of course they take forever to open. Ironically, it's actually a little bit faster now to open up Unreal than it is to open up Unity, and I don't see why, because Unreal Engine is so much more heavyweight. But whatever. In Unreal, we have the content drawer, which is, I think, the style I kind of want to go for. I like the idea of it being something that's out of the way, and then you have quick access to it while you're designing a level. But no matter how you slice it, this is sort of, the window is always going to be sort of an imitation of what you can do in within a File Explorer window or a Finder window on Mac. So I'm going to start by pretending that the left panel doesn't exist. I'm going to start just doing this section where we show an icon for the files in the current view. If you have a folder, you can like double click on it and go inside of it. And then maybe a back button to go up a level. So let's start there. Let's head to the content.cpp file, this guy. Okay, so this is where we were before. Now, something that I didn't understand at the end of the last stream, and I made one little change, is that I don't actually have to do my own conversion to UTF-8 from FilePath. FilePath stores its path to whatever is native on the platform. So in the case of Windows, it's UTF-16. And so I thought I had to do my own conversion, but actually you can do file.path to get the path of the directory entry. And then path objects have multiple string conversions. So you can do .string, which will get you a ASCII string, basically, to be more correct, an ANSI, A-N-S-I string. And if you do U8, U16, U32, you can force it to convert to those encodings. So all we need to do, actually, I don't even need to do any of my own conversion code here. I can just do file path, U8 string, and then get the C string from that and pass it to IMGUI, and it'll display the UTF-8 format text. So I guess the first thing is that we're not going to be doing recursion for now. We're going to start with a top level like this. And then while we're iterating through, what I'll do is I'll do an if file dot is folder, or is directory. Is that a function or is that a variable? I assume it's a function. Yeah. If it's a directory, then we will print it. Otherwise, we will skip it. Actually, you know what? I'll say dir and file. This will just be a quick little way for us to make sure that we're seeing everything correctly. Cool. And yeah, so we're in the top level now. We're not going recursively, so when we counter the directory test, we no longer have all the stuff inside of the test folder being displayed. So if this is a window that's displaying the top level, I want to see the list of these as icons. I should, though, only display the name of the file itself and not the path to this location. So we're going to need to track the current working directory. So what we can do is, well, first let me quickly check. Yeah, Unity's loaded up now, and we can see that it kind of does a similar thing with the thing. Anyway, so we're going to need to track which directory is the current working directory. Because I'll be pretty much working with the STD file system, I may as well store this locally as an STD path. Let's start there, and then let's start with a string, and we'll move from strings if that becomes necessary. So we'll do static std string current path, like that. We should probably have an initialization where we set current path to be equal to the content path. Later on, we will cache the previously used current location, so that way when you go to close and reopen a project, it'll reopen to the same location as it was when you closed. But for now, we'll just default it to opening to the content folder directly. So inside of content.h, we're going to add void init, and we'll use this, control this, we'll invoke it when we're initializing the scene editor. Like so, okay. And then we'll do current path equals file, EP file get content directory. Cool. And then inside of the loop here, instead of calling get file content directory whenever we go to set this up, we'll set up current path. Cool. And this gives us the ability to change what the current path is when we double click on a folder, or if we click the up one level button. Cool. The next thing is we need to break down the path a little bit. So we'll need to remove the first part of the path. I suppose literally everything. Let me run this real quick. Oh, we got an exception? How did that happen? Creating the iterator, we had a problem. Oh, hang on. Oh, because init's not being called yet. Let me set that up real quick. Here we go. So we got views, scene, game, and we'll do views, content, init. F5. He was trying to open up an empty path, which was the problem. Oh, we still got a problem. What might that be? Path is still empty. So somehow the init call is still not getting invoked. Okay, no, there it is. It's getting invoked. Step over. So get content directory. Content dir path has not been set up yet. Okay, so there's an initialization order problem. For some reason, the file system's init is not getting called before my content view. So let's see about that. Going to the editor runtime. Here's the constructor. We call scene editor init, we call window init, and then we call game sysinit. Okay, so we're loading the project after we initialize the scene editor. Okay, and that skips over initializing the content directory because we are sandboxed. If we weren't sandboxed, then we would be calling set platform paths for editor. And the current content directory would still not be set up. Okay. So it kind of looks like we should be setting up all of this after we load up the project, which is I'm doing a quick double check to make sure that that's not going to cause any obvious problems. Yeah, it's safe to create frame buffers here because we've already initialized the engine runtime. And in window init we configure all the IAM GUI stuff, and we finally show the window. Yeah, this is probably fine. Let me move this stuff down below. We'll compile and run that and see if it breaks anything. That's my breakpoint still. And my other breakpoint. Okay, that seems to be working. Everything is loaded up. We got the path initialized. However, I anticipate a problem. If we go to close the project, we'll have the same error. That's because the content directory is being set to empty again. So I'm going to stop for a second. The content dir. I'm curious to know if instead of passing in current path, if I just passed in a dot or a dot slash, whether that would work. Or at least not crash. Because if it does, not crash. Yeah, so it's showing all the files in the root directory. So what I may want to do is, instead of leaving content dir blank when we don't have a project loaded, is to leave it as a dot, and then that'll make it safe for use in any file system code, at least in the sense that it won't crash anything. Eventually, we're going to eliminate the possibility of using the content browser while we have a project loaded. But for now, let me set up the current path default to be a dot or a dot slash. I'll make it a dot. So we got a current path. Leave that. And then we're going to get content directory, return content dir path. We'll give in init here we go. We set up the defaults for everything except for the game locations. So data dir path, save dir path, content dir path, right? I think. Editor, shader, headers, data dir, temp dir. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we've initialized everything here except for content dir path, which I'll set as a dot for default. And then when we're not sandboxed, set platform paths for editor. We'll have to do the same thing. Okay. And then when we're not in the editor or the launcher, we're setting the paths for standalone. And in the case of setting the paths for standalone, we will either redirect based on project, or we will set it to be the current working directory. Awesome. And because we're setting this up in the init call, this will be reinitialized to the current directory, the dot, when we go to reload the game project, because it destroys and recreates the engine runtime. All right, cool. Let's head back to where we were. And if everything is working okay, we should be able to open and close the project without causing a crash. Okay, so it didn't cause a crash, but when I went to open up the test game project, it didn't update the current path inside of init, and I guess that makes sense, because I cache it as current path. So init is invoked when we go to load the game module, or sorry, when we go to close the game module, and not invoked again after we go to load a game module. You know what, for now, I'm actually okay with this. The reason why is because when we go to open up a project in the future, we're actually going to have to implement a special dialogue for this anyways. So basically, when we go to open up Enterprise without a project, it'll normally give you like a splash screen to select your project that you want to work on. And at that point, we have to load up a number of things from the project file, including what the most recent current working directory for the content view is. So we'll still need an init call for that, but it'll be invoked at a different time. So I think this is probably okay. All right, cool. Let's clear out those breakpoints. And we'll just continue to work like this. All right, so our current working directory is the test game /content. We need to strip that from the start of all these files. I can probably get it from the path itself. Path dot, it's going to be either file name or there's another one, I can't remember. Stem. Which one is stem and which one is file name? I'll do the same test for files. Oops, forgot to put the dots. Okay, so the first one is the stem, the second one's the file name. Okay, so file name gives you the extension, stem gives you just the name without the extension. In the case of the directories, it's identical because the directory doesn't have an extension on it. However, if I was to put an extension on it, f2.thing, because you can actually put .thing or .whatever inside of your folder name. Yeah, so actually, yeah, stem would remove the extension or .whatever. So we would want file name in all cases, I think. Okay, let's do that. Okay. Cool. So now we got a list of the files and directories, just their names from the current working directory. I could display the current working directory at the top. Let's look at a few examples. Documents. I want this to be in a bar at the top. I'm wondering if there's a demo of a window with the status bar on it. Well, maybe not, but there's a section here where I have a header basically. Let's take a look at this simple layout in the demo file. GUI demo. So here's the simple layout code. Begin menu bar file, end menu bar. There's the left side. Here's the right side. We have begin group, begin child item view, do a little bit of inspection. Alright, so this description tab is underneath simple layout / item view, blah, 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 blah. Tabs description. Okay. Okay, so that's this section here. They do a text, then they do a separator. And the child is everything above revert and save. Okay. Negative, get frame height with spacing. Leave room for one line below. Okay. So I don't actually need the begin child part, I just need the text and the separator. That's easy enough. Let's come back to this guy. And inside of the window, we'll do a IAM-GUI text. The text will be, I guess I'll just say the words current directory. Or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just do the path itself. So I'll do %s for a string, and then we'll pass in the string current path, which is already a UTF-8 string. And then we'll do IAM-GUI separator. That. And then that should be enough for a simple little header. Let's try it out. I said let's try it out. What's the problem? Oh, because this requires a C string. Yeah, IAM-GUI targets C++11 for building, but it doesn't actually... There we go, it's a test game content. But yeah, it doesn't actually use C++ style APIs, it just uses C APIs. Which is, you know, for compatibility's sake, it's a good move, but it's annoying for me, because I have to do all this C_string stuff. Anyway, we've got the current working directory list at the top. That's good enough for our purposes. We should have a button though for going up a level. Let's say well, I'll put that on the back burner for now. Let's turn these text lists into icons. I'll need to look at another example for this. Let's go do widgets. I know that there's a table API somewhere. Oh, tables and columns. Okay. Basic. Okay, so this is a basic column setup, 3x3, using table next row plus calling table set column index before each cell in a loop. Let's look up this code. That's tables and columns. So we'll go to the demo file, search for tables, ampersand columns, and here we are. This is the section pushing the tables. We got open all, close all, blah, 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 blah. That's these buttons here. And then static bool, disable indent, false. Disable tree indentation, same line. Okay, here's the demos. Tables/basic. And then there's the help marker, and here we go. So they begin a table, they give it a name, and then what? That's the number of columns. Okay. And then for row equals 0, row is less than 4, row plus plus. That's interesting. There's 3. Oh, sorry, these are rows, not columns, right? Yeah, I wonder why the begin table API doesn't take rows. I guess it's because you only need one, and then the length is just defined by how many elements you add. That's my guess. But basically, you tell it how many columns you want. Then for every row, we specify table next row. So they begin the table and then they immediately go into calling table next row. That's interesting. Then they go through the columns. They say table set column index, and then text. That's interesting. Okay, method 2. So these are multiple ways to achieve the same result, it looks like. Method 2, using table next column called multiple times instead of using a for loop. Next row, next column, text. Okay, for every row, they do a next column. And so they do next row, and then they do column, column, column. Okay. And then on this one, they use table next column before each cell. We never call table next row, as table next column will automatically wrap around and create new rows as needed. This is generally more convenient when your cells all contain the same type of data. I like this one quite a bit because I don't necessarily want to be thinking about how many columns there are while I am doing all my icons. I just want to loop through all of my files and then make an icon filling up the space. Or make icons filling up the space. Okay, so what they do is they do a begin table, 3 columns. For every item, they do table next column, and then they add the text, and then it just wraps around, and they call end table when they're finished. That's excellent. I like that a lot. Let me copy and paste it. Okay. So, we've got the content directory, we've got the each file inside the content directory. Before we do each of those, we're going to start the table. So we'll say if I'm going to begin table, we're going to call this table content icons, and for now we'll give it 5 columns. They just have a list of text items. They just literally do a for loop through item 0, item 13. I can copy and paste this code and use it instead. Instead of the for loop. So we have for every file in the contents directory. I should rename this to current dir, like that. And then inside of here, instead of doing the text items, we will do ImGui table next column, and then we will do an icon. So ImGui, in this case we'll do, I think it's like something icon, or a button, that's right, we're doing buttons. When you do a button, it's like an icon, but it gives you the ability to click and do something, double click and do something, or click and drag. So we're doing button. I think I still want this to be an image button, even though I don't have a picture. Though I'm not 100% on that. Let's look for an example. Widgets, bullets, selectables? No. Maybe it's under basic. Button, checkbox. Surely there's an example of an image button in here. Widgets, image, textured buttons. So we're underneath widgets, images. I got my font atlas is suddenly huge because I've got all the Japanese and emoji characters in it. But scrolling right past that, now some textured buttons. Okay. So the only time that they use image button is when they add an actual image on it. So I want the button to have a set width and height and stuff, even though I don't have a picture for it yet. So we'll go back to content.cpp. Let's see what options we have with regular button, if I can spell that correctly. That's interesting. There's actually a variety of buttons. There's arrow button, color button, image button. Huh. What is arrow button got? String ID and then a direction. That might be useful for the back button or the up one level button. Let me go to the widgets demo though and search for it. ImGui arrow button. Widgets basic buttons. So underneath basic buttons. Oh, here are the arrow buttons. So this is an example of what that would look like. Okay. If I take a look at its code, it probably will show me how to set my own size. In this case, it looks like they're calling item size Y. Hang on a second, size. And then they call button behavior. I'm gonna put that on the back burner for the moment. I'll just continue with the regular button API. Button, label, and size. I need the label to be unique for each button. So as I'm iterating through the file, or the current directory, I should have like an index to be able to pass in. I'll worry about that in a minute. I'll leave the label blank. And then I will pass in a size. In this case, I'll just make it 120 or 128. Make it a power of 2. 128 by 128. That seems to be good enough. And then I will... Well, I was going to do a push ID and pop ID around this. Hey Nobi, welcome in. How's your day going? I'm doing IamGui stuff. I'll just pass in the string. Oop. I think that should do. Yep. So every button will be labeled after the file name. Size of 128 by 128. Getting some buffering, but that's probably on my end. Internet setup is sketchy. Oof. It's also possible for it to be on my end because I've been dealing with pretty sketchy internet myself. Or pretty... do I have any dropped? 0 dropped frames. Okay, so right now it doesn't appear to be on my end. But yeah, I'm doing some IamGui stuff that I haven't ever done before. I'm making a content browser. Right, let's see how that goes. Attempt 1 at icons. Aha! Okay, we got some icons. Their widths are weird, but we can make that work. So now we got buttons. Okay, so we'll need to do some shenanigans with sizing. So for starters, I want the columns to be dynamically arranged so that there's only enough columns to accommodate each icon one time. So I suppose that would be taking a quick look at the stack. I'll try making it just multiples of the width 128, but I have a suspicion that I'm going to need to take the buffer in between into account. I'll worry about that in a minute. So when we go to set up the current icons, or the content icons table, we need to know how many columns there will be. So we'll need to first get the width, which I believe we can get from IamGui get content region. Yeah, get content region max. This gives us a vector 2, gives us the width and the height. We're worried about the width. And then how are we going to use that? I'll make the icon size its own thing. Actually, I'm going to do this a little bit smarter. I'm going to make a slider for the icon size. So we'll go do a drag int. And this will be icon size. And it will be setting an integer value. So we'll make a static int icon size. Set it to 128 by default. We'll pass in its address to drag int. Like that. We'll leave the speed at the default. So it'll be as you drag 1 pixel on the screen, makes the icon 1 pixel larger. But yeah, we have a customizable icon size now. And now we need to know how many columns. What format does this take? Begin table. It takes an integer. Yeah, so we'll do int column count equals the content region max.x will divide it by the icon size. And then it'll convert back into an int. So this is a float divided by an integer. Should give us a float back, I believe, because it goes with the left-hand side, and then it'll cast back to an integer. And then we'll use that inside of here. Column count. I probably need to add something to the icon size to handle the buffer, but I'll worry about that in a minute. We'll see how this works. Yeah, F5. Okay, so we got something. So we can adjust the size of the icons to a point. Oh, did I fail to... Yeah, I actually failed to pass in the icon size to the actual button itself. Let's do that again. Oh, that won't work because this wants floats. All right. What constructors does a IMVec2 take? Does it have any constructors? Float. So it can accept nothing. It can accept 2 floats. And that's it. So I'll have to do casting. So we'll do C-style casting on these. Like that. Cool, and that should be enough. F5. Looks like I might have lost you, Nobi. That's too bad, but... Alright, cool. So now we got something that looks a little more reasonable. As I make the icons larger, we see that it's wrapping around. It gets to a certain point, and then it breaks across to the next line. Okay. Now, the thing I'm particularly interested in is the buffer. So that is the space between items. Seems to be working fine between items. However, I'm looking at the right edge of the panel. It seems to be... Yeah, you can see that as I make the width of the panel a little bit wider and the buttons and the items spread out, the rightmost edge is moving a tiny little bit. That's because the buffer is stacking on the right edge for some reason. I'm not sure if I care about that right now. I think I will just let it go for the moment. But yeah, we've got at the very least we've got icons for all the files. They give us the name. We'll replace these with icons themselves. But we'll actually want to move the text to be captions underneath each file as well. So hopping back into Unity for a second, we got an example of it right there. And same thing with Unreal. Unreal's interesting because they have... Let me open up something that's got a lot of files in it. Is there a... Well, this will do if I squish it. So this is the audio folder of the starter content in Unreal. Unreal draws a border around the region for the name. Gives you a handle for dragging. Oh, okay. Actually, this might have something to do with their previewer. So if I go to click on the... icon itself, it might not give me the ability to drag and drop anywhere. Because I click on the play button and it plays. So perhaps they wanted to make a explicit handle area where you can just click and drag on the name and it's visually clear that you're going to be dragging the file. So like I can drag and drop into the world, and all of a sudden we have a ambient sound that plays the starter music. Let's take a look at how Unity handles it. I don't think that Unity features interactive previews inside of the project window. Do I have any sound assets in here? This is basically starter assets with the exception of a couple of 3D models I pulled in from online. I may have to grab something from my library. Let me do that real quick. Not actually going to do anything in Reaper, just going to grab a file. Let's grab a shotgun blast. Well, that's fully... Do I not have a shot? I guess I gotta... Okay, there's one. It's a steampunky one. We'll find the Show in File Explorer. I'll grab that shot and drag it into Unity for the sake of seeing how it reacts. I'll do a folder, sounds, oops, back. I also noticed that my forward and back buttons on my mouse don't work in this view. That would be something I want in my, like the forward and backward buttons on the Unreal side work, and that's really helpful. But on this one I have to like click back for that to apply. Let me just drag and drop into here. Yeah, so that's something I may want to consider, whether I want to be able to preview things from the content browser. I think that's a pretty convenient feature to have. Excuse me. And if I choose to do that, then having this explicit handle area might be a good way for that to be implemented. For now, though, I'm going to just go ahead and do like this, where I just have the little title caption underneath. And we'll worry about nice to have features later. So how would we do it in this case? I guess after each icon, we just do a IMGUI text or wrapped text, and then it should display underneath each. I don't know how that would impact rows, though. Presumably IMGUI will identify the height of the entire row before placing the following row. I don't know, let's just try it out and see what happens. So underneath the button, we'll do IMGUI wrapped, or text wrapped, and then we'll pass in a formatted string %s so we don't get errors. We'll pass in the file name, and then is that gonna give me grief? There we go. Let's try rebuilding and running that. See what that looks like. Okay, so we got something. Something that I don't quite like about this arrangement is that the spacing between icons is not uniform. So if I have only one row of text in between icons, instead of giving it the same amount of space between each row, it'll give it only enough room for the one row of text. So I guess I could probably force a height on the text. I wonder if that's easy to do from the text wrap function. It doesn't look like it. What if I did ImGui push? Is it like a push height? There's push item width. Just get frame height, set text line height. Maybe that's what I'm looking for. Let me. Let's get in. Hang on. So I can get the height of a line of text. So, and with spacing, what does with spacing do? First, let's find this in the header file. Oop. All right, let's read the descriptions. Font size plus style.itemspacing.y, distance in pixels between two consecutive lines of text. Okay. So if I add the results of these two values, I will have 2 rows and the space between them, which is what I want the distance to be between icons. So let me, before I lose track of them, write them down. So these functions give me the two line height I need. How do I set the height? I want the text wrap to be cut off if it goes too long. Okay, there's something called ImGui text flags. Let's see what those look like. There's none, and then there's no width for large clipped text. What's that look like? It's not used in the demo anywhere. Okay, interestingly, when I'm just passing in a straight string, %s, and passing in a string to be printed, that this is set up anyway. No width for large clipped text. My guess is that if no text fits, that it'll simply move on, but I can only guess. What if there's something that gives me ellipses? Here we go. Rendering truncated text with an ellipses. Currently not possible. We have internals, low-level helpers, which provide some of that facility, but it's not exposed in the public API. For your information, the ImGui internal.h function is render text ellipses. We pass in the address of the draw list. So I pick which draw list I put it in. Const imvec2 position min, position max. Okay, so I can do this myself. I'll put it on the back burner though as a nice to have. What I really care about is setting the height. Is there something for that? Layout, widgets width, child windows, scrolling, clipping. Text baseline alignment. There's got to be something for vertical alignment adjustments. Align text to frame padding. If your line starts with text, call align text to frame padding to align text to upcoming widgets. Because we don't know what's coming after the text statement, we need to move the text baseline down by frame padding.y ahead of time. Okay, let's take a look at this. This is underneath layout text baseline alignment. Let's find that example. Text baseline alignment. So I guess this is it. We're looking for okay, blah blah. I don't see it. Oh, here it is. Okay, blah blah. Call align text to frame padding to vertically align the text baseline. Oh, I see. So this has to do with aligning the text vertically against the button. Okay, that's not anything I'm interested in, actually. Let's keep searching for the word vertical through the demos. Hopefully we'll find something. We're in the scrolling section now. Okay, what's this? Tabs, horizontal scrolling. Because the container window won't automatically extend, yeah. Maybe I'm thinking of this wrong. Maybe I need to set the cell height specifically. And then that'll just contain whatever, however long the text is. Row height, okay. Min row height, min. So I can specify a minimum. You can pass a min row height to table next row. Rows are padded with, oops, hang on. Rows are padded with style.cellpadding.y on top and bottom. So effectively the minimum row height will always be style.cellpadding.y times 2. We cannot honor a maximum row height as that requires a unique clipping rectangle per row. So maybe I need to do a clipping rectangle. Maybe that's what I need. I know that's a thing, I've just never used it before. Here we go, clipping. Okay, let's see how clipping works. So it's literally just called clipping in here. Here we go, tree node clipping. Drag float to size, text wrapped, click and drag to scroll. Okay. And then after that, we go through 3 sections. Begin group, invisible button. If item is active and we're dragging on it, then we change the offset. So we get a line of text. We've got a text position. That's the get item rect min plus the offset. Then we get the draw list. So we push a clipped rectangle. Getting the button's min and max size. And what's the true stand for? Intersect with current clipped rect. Okay. Add rectangular filled with that color. Add text. And we're adding directly to the draw list. Okay, there's a lot that I like about this. So for starters, going back to the content, for starters, I like the idea of wrapping this in an invisible button, because that's going to be how we click and drag and double click to rename and things like that. I'm going to need to give this a unique ID. So let's do well, let's hold on to that for a moment. Actually, let's not hold on to that for a moment. Let's deal with that now. Previously, I was passing in the path to the the path to the file as the label, and it was using that for the ID. I'm going to temporarily do push ID, and the ID will be set to the file name from here. Control X, Control V. And then at the end of this whole thing, we'll say IamGUI pub ID. Like that. And then we can pass in empty quotes for the button and for the invisible button. This is actually itself not a great option. Because there's not a guarantee that this will be unique. If I have to, well, actually, no, there is a guarantee that these will be unique if I think about it, because the files themselves must be named differently on the operating system, or else the path isn't valid. So yeah, this will guarantee me a unique ID. Okay, so now the button and the invisible button have a ID matching the file name beneath it. And then on this, I can just say icon for the button, and for the text, it'll be empty with a pound. I'll do it like this. No, I'll print the word icon, and that'll be the ID for this guy. For the invisible button wrapping the text, the button won't have itself any text. or any label, it'll just be name, like that. So the path in this stack is, or the idea in this stack is the file name, then icon, or file name, then name. Cool, and in this case, the word icon will appear inside of the box. Good. What's the second parameter on this guy? The size. Okay, and this is where I can specify how big I want the text to be. So this will be icon size dot x in width, and then this thing, 2 lines of text in height. And then what else is there? Then there's the IamGUI button flags, which I'll leave as empty as default for now, for the moment. Okay, we're making progress. What's wrong with you? Oh, icon size is just a single value. Can that be implicitly converted? It cannot, so we'll do float icon size. All right. I think I gotta wrap this in an if statement. And then anything that'll display with the button will look like that. And heading back to the demo. So they set the invisible button. They get the offset by the click and drag on the last active item. That looks fine. They get the window draw list. And then they add a text to it. Is there a add wrapped text? I guess not. I guess what I could do is I could reset the cursor position to be the start of the button, and add a clip region to that. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. I think that makes sense. So I'll need to do an IamVec2 pause, and we'll set that equal to IamGUI get cursor pause, like this. This will give us the current place we are going to compose the next element, which is going to be that button. And then if we draw the button, I'll say pause, or ImGui set cursor pause to pause. And that'll take and move the cursor back to before we rendered the invisible button. And we're not, rendering in the case that we are composing something that is that size, even though it's invisible. Good. And then ImGui set cursor position. Then we can do text wrapped. But before we do that, I'll do ImGui clip, or whatever it was called. Set push clipped rectangle. And then we do the min and the max. And I guess, heading back to the demo, they got P0 and P1 from the size of the button. That makes sense. Let me do the same thing. Okay, so we've got the invisible button. P0 and P1 are going to be the min and the max for that button. And then we simply push it, P0, P1, and then true for intersecting with the current clip. Okay. So P0, P1, true, like that. And then down here we probably have to pop clip rectangle. Cool. And in between, I'm doing text wrapped. Do I need to set the position anywhere? When they added the text, they just added it. Without having to set the position. Oh no, they did. They set the text position. The text position is equal to the origin, the P0, plus the offset. So when I go to add the text, I probably should. I'm going to presume that this will work with the setting the cursor position back to pause. Hopefully it'll work. All right, well, I guess we'll just give it a shot. I don't think I've overlooked anything, but I probably have. Rebuild and rerun. And it's a quiet stream today. Okay, so we got something. It looks like, yes, all of the icons are now evenly spaced. However, the text is not displaying correctly. Something weird is happening when I go to let go of my mouse button on the section where the text would be. It displays. So I think there might be something up with how I'm doing the invisible button. Do I need to pass in a flag? It accepts ImGui button flags. Let's see what it does look like. We got mouse button default, left, middle, right. What does mask do? That's apparently an internal only one. It does left, right, and middle. Yeah, I don't think this is helping me. But give me just a minute. I'm gonna take a quick break. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that, I had to let the cat out. Cool. So, for some reason or other, the button or the clip space is like preventing me from seeing the text that I'm rendering, which I wasn't expecting. I'm reordering the calls a little bit to make this a little bit more logical. So we've got the icons. The invisible buttons appear to be working fine. Let me take the inspector out, the stack tool. All right, so we've got content icons. Okay, and then content window, content icons, depth render.glsl, and name. So name is the invisible button. On a hunch, I'm gonna try getting rid of the clipped rectangle and see whether it works on its own. The idea being that the clip rectangle is supposed to keep it from going outside of the bounds of the button. Okay, so the clip rectangle has nothing to do with this. It has to do with the button, presumably. Oh, okay. I think I know where I messed up. Yeah, so I am doing an if on the invisible button, but that doesn't return true when it needs to display. It returns true when you've clicked on the button. So it's only doing the code in these braces when we are clicking on the button, which is how all of that happened. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, there we go. So now the spacing looks correct. The icons, yeah. So I do actually want the names of all the files to cut off if they go longer than 2 lines. Right now what's happening is that they are pushing beyond the bounds of the invisible button. So let's try the clip rectangle like we were doing before. Okay, I'm gonna make this really small. Voila, okay, that seems to be working okay. Well, it's not perfect though. So visually, the text is clipping, but it is not preventing the height of the row from changing. So you can see that between this size and this size, when we have the word wrapping pop in, the second row actually drops down a level because it's making room for the stuff that's cut off. So it looks like text wrap is not going to be what I need. I need to draw the text without moving the cursor. However, I can't just get the draw list and then do draw text because that doesn't automatically do wrapping. So I guess what I'll do is I'll do set cursor position again. So before we do the text wrap, we do set cursor position to be text wrapped. After, I will say IamGui set cursor pause, and I'll set cursor pause Y. Yeah, I'll set it back to be pause.y. So this means that the cursor will, which ordinarily would move down to the lower right corner after, right? Yeah, the lower right corner after doing the text, it'll now, its height will be back to where it was before. I think that's how it works. It might not be how it works, but we'll see. Even if it works that way, I don't know if that'll actually deal with the table the way I'm hoping it will. Oops, we got insertion. What is that? Expression columns count greater than 0 and columns count less, so between 0 and 64, only one. Oh, okay, somehow I've got more than 64 columns, so that's a thing. So when we do num of columns, where's column count? This has to be capped at 64. Right? Float. Do I have to do a... There we go. Oh, but I have to do it as a integer, so I'll have to do the casting here. Does STD... Is STD min templated? It is. So I could do this, right? I've never used std min this way. Okay, cool. So it'll do the, it'll get me a floating point, cast it to an int, and then compare it against this int and return an int. Good. But yeah, let's try that again with less crashing this time. Okay, and all right. So yeah, we're still dealing with the row jumping down. Yeah, I'm not sure what the best way to do this is. I would want to get the draw list and then just draw the text without inserting anything, but I can't wrap the text that way. I don't really want to do it myself, but perhaps I have to. Let's take a look at the example for word wrapping, because apparently there is one. Tool, all right, here we go. Text, word wrapping. This text should automatically wrap on the edge of the window. The current implementation for text wrapping follows simple rules suitable for English and possibly other languages. Is this selecting the number of characters? No, it's selecting the number of pixels. Let me take a look at that in the demo code. Okay, here we go. What does IamGui spacing do? item size. Advanced cursor given item size for layout. Alright, whatever. Slider float gives us a wrap width. Okay, so they're getting the window draw list. They're getting the cursor screen position. Marker min, marker max, push, text, wrap, position. Okay, I think this is how we'll do it. If we can push a text wrapped position, can that be used for add text? I think so. Gonna take a look at the code for add text and see if it uses it. That is, if it uses the wrap width, which is added to something called the text wrapped position stack. Okay, so ultimately we get the wrap width in... Oh, add text has a wrap width. Okay. Okay, I think that's actually exactly what we need. So we pass in the font size. Okay, and if we go back to the demo and go to the clip example. They add in the position of the text, the color, the pointer to text begin. It assumes a null termination character for the end. And then we can add the overload that gives us the ability to add wrapping. Okay, I think I'm getting there. It's all these little things that you have to keep track of. So we'll push the clip rectangle, and then instead of doing wrapped text, we will get the draw list, which is the this guy, the IMGUI get window draw list. We'll just go ahead and start copying and pasting the stuff right now. Okay, so we'll get the draw list. And then draw list. And then down here we will call draw list add text inside of the clipped section. So comment you out for the moment. We'll go draw list add text. The text that we're going to be adding is this. And then I'll do the white color for the moment, but technically this should be grabbed from the style settings. Then we will do... Oh, whoops. I need to pass in this as the third arg, not the... Yeah. Not the first. The first is the position that we're going to be rendering to, so that's going to be pause. and then null for the last character. Then we need I am skipping over some things. So I need to get the font size and supply it. I need to get the position, supply it. Oh man. So I'll need to get that stuff out of. I think there's like a style getter that we get the color and the rest of that stuff from. Okay, here we go. So font size comes from data, arrow font size, same thing with the font. Data is the IAM draw list shared data. So I can get the data using this. Oh man. Bam. Like so. Okay, cool. That's a pretty generic label, so let's do draw list data. Cool, and now we've got that. So for the first argument for this overload, that's going to be draw list data font, I believe is what it was, right? What's up with you? Pointer to incomplete class type is not allowed. Oh, whoops, I have to do. It's incomplete because I didn't get it in its namespace. Okay. And then down here, draw list data. It has a font, remember, doesn't it? Let's go to the struct. Here it is. Oh, but it's capital. Okay. So we'll do. Oh, what are you complaining about? We do have. Oh, I need to include IAMGUI internal. All right. I find myself using IAMGUI internal a lot to do custom stuff. Okay. So this is actually in the global namespace, so I just do that. Okay. And then down here I can do draw list data arrow font. Yes. Okay. And then we can do draw list data draw list data font size. Yeah, so it takes the font takes the font size. Actually, it takes in the address of the font. Which is actually what this is. It's a pointer. Okay. Font size, good. Pass by value. Then we need the position by reference, which we've already got. Then we need the color. Then we need the text begin. Okay. Cool. I'll have to write start. All right. Text begin. Then text end we're going to do is null because that's going to tell it that it's going to continue until we get to the null termination character. Float wrap width. Okay, and then this is where we actually can do the width of the button. So that'll be how did I do that? Yeah, I can actually just pass in the icon size for that one. What's this? CPU find clip direct. I'll leave it empty for now, but I'm gonna look up what that does. And IMQA draw. CPU find clip direct. If we have one, then they create a clip rect. Then they render with clip rect. Oh, so actually I don't even have to push my own clip rect. I could instead pass in an IMVec4 containing the coordinates. Okay, that makes sense. So this will be I'll do it up here. So instead of doing this, I'll do a const IMVec4 clip equals PO P0.x P0.y. Actually, can I just construct from two vec2s? No, it doesn't look like it. So P0.x, P0.y, P1.x, P1.y. And then that'll get me a vec4 that I can pass into add text. But it's asking for what, a pointer, or is it asking for a reference? It's asking for a const pointer, so I'll pass it in its address. Okay, and then I don't need to do push clip rect anymore. I think that's what it means. I wonder if I can go into drawlist data and get the color. No, I guess not. I'll have to get the font color before I continue, or before I push this. All right, let's restart Enterprise. Okay, that didn't quite work. What didn't work about it? Do I actually have to get the length of the string? I think I actually had to get the length of the string and then add it to the address of the C string. Because this is supposed to be the last character. Let me clear out the clip rect for the moment. The quote-unquote fine clip rect. Yeah, that didn't do it either. Okay. Okay, so I think I am using the wrong origin. So I'm gonna get rid of this set cursor position business. And then instead of using pause for anything, I will instead use P0 for the origin. And I think that's in screen space, which might be what this is expecting. Because they are using the position from get item rectmin instead of the cursor position. Let's try this. Okay. All right, that's looking good. Perfect. All right, so this is doing exactly what we wanted. So now the text wrapping is occurring, but when it wraps beyond 2 lines, it will cut off and not push the next row of icons down too far. All right, sweet. Got a problem with adding too many columns again. Didn't I fix that with, I guess not. Let's take a look at that. I've got a negative columns count. So get content region max.x can be negative. That's interesting. So it's getting a little ridiculous how much wrapping I'm having to do. But I need to max this with 0. And then that'll prevent this from going negative. Actually, for that matter, it has to be greater than 1 as well. instead of wrapping the inner, I'll wrap the outer. And STD max with 1. So that way, this will get us between 1 and 64 for sure. Size argx. So this is a different problem than before. Not equal to 0, and y is not equal to 0. So x or y of something is 0 when it shouldn't be. That would be this one for the invisible buttons. Okay, so I think that's because my slider is able to hit the value 0. So we'll need to add a minimum to it. Okay, so let's find that slider, drag it. I think I can specify a min and max right here, can't I? Come on. Come on, IntelliSense. Part of me is wondering whether I should be looking into CLion because of things like this. Well, just control clicking on drag it is taking forever now for some reason. I mean, I guess I got a bajillion things open, but they're not really doing anything. Yeah, real time is off in Unreal. Unity's not real time. Okay, there we go. Gosh. Okay, so it can take. So it takes the value, it takes the speed, then the min and max. Okay. IntelliSense, are you gonna work for me now? Okay, so the speed, I'll just type in 0. The min is gonna be 1. And then I think I can leave max by itself. Yeah, that seems to have built, but IntelliSense is still lagging behind. Now if I... oh, the icon size won't move at all anymore. Alright, I'm restarting IntelliSense. Okay, drag it. Maybe I have to do both a min and a max. Is that a requirement? Oh, my speed is 0. That's why. Okay. We're still getting down to size 0 on the buttons, which I didn't expect. Must be a... Oh, it must be because it's subtracting the buffers. So let's do minimum of 1 plus IMGUI buffer or border space. I'm trying to remember the... There's a function for getting the space between items. You know, whatever. I'll just give it a minimum size of 15 for the icons, and that problem will sort itself out when we actually impose a size limit. Okay, that wasn't expected. I was able to go negative. That's really unexpected. Okay, screw it. I'll add a max. 256 pixels on the max. Okay, that's... So I guess I have to have both a min and a max for the cap to work correctly. So, good. Alright. Now we're off to a very good start. I've noticed that there's a tiny little bit of text clipping at the bottom there. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the height of this space. So I was previously using get line height with spacing. Oh, hang on. That might be... This might have been what I was looking for before. Items height. Use -1 to be calculated automatically in the first step. Otherwise, pass in the distance between your items. Typically, get text line height with spacing. What is this? IMGUI list clipper. Okay. All right. Style, item spacing. Item spacing is the thing I was looking for. Okay. Distance in pixels between 2 consecutive lines of text. This doesn't look wrong to me, but for some reason it's not clipping the way I expected it would be. So I'm going to get rid of the spacing business. I'm just going to do this times 2.0f. So we'll get the height of a line of text, and we'll do 2 of those. We're not going to consider the space in between. I have a hunch that this will exactly clip on the second row. Yeah, okay, look at that. So now we've got some clipping happening. So Roboto Mono Regular, where I've got the font, we no longer have the text showing up underneath. All right, cool. So we got icons working, kinda, sorta. And that's a good first step, at least. So I guess we're gonna want to do folders. So I can differentiate these icons using. For now, I'll just say file or folder in text inside of the button. Later on, I'll go and find or design my own folder icon and then use those instead. And then I'll need to set up some kind of a scheme for assigning previews for various file types. So things like if you have a texture, you want to be able to see the preview of the texture inside of the content browser. You know, I also kind of want to have a highlight when I mouse over the example or the text underneath each icon. Okay, one thing at a time. We'll start by getting the icons to say folder or file. And this is a lot of work, huh? Okay, content.cp. Okay. Cool. So next table column, push ID for the file name. Then we do the button for the icon. Then we do the invisible button for the text underneath. We get the clipping rectangle. Get the font size. Okay. So this is where we push the button icon. What we'll do is we'll do a ternary operation or a ternary statement. We'll say if file dot is directory, then we'll say folder, otherwise we'll say icon. Simple enough. Cool, so it says folder and that says icon. Okay, so let's add some navigation behavior to the folders. When we double click on the folder, we'll do if, actually underneath the button we'll do this. We'll do if IamGUI item clicked is item clicked, and then we specify IamGUI mouse button underscore. I thought there was an option for is double clicked. Oh, here it is. Is mouse double clicked? So we'll say if you double click with the left mouse button and button or ImGUI is item active. If I'm remembering this right. When you're clicking and dragging on the button, it'll consider it active. Though I can't quite remember what activated means. Okay, a second. G.ActiveID. Activated is when you go from being inactive to being activated. Okay, right. So if it's active, meaning that we've got our mouse button on it, and we've just double clicked, then that's the equivalent of double clicking the button. That's weird. There's got to be a simpler way to do this. Yeah, whatever. I'll worry about the niceties later. So if we double click on the button, we want to change the current path to be the current path plus the double clicked path. So I guess what we just need to do is set current path equals file dot string, or right, file dot u8 string. Oh, file dot path. Sorry, file dot path dot u8 string. Because this will give us the path relative to the working directory to the thing we just double clicked. Because when we're going through this loop, we're iterating through every file. And so this should be it. This will give us the full path relative to the working directory. And then we can pass that back into this guy, directory iterator, on the next loop. Yes, okay, I think that makes sense. However, we're actually going to need to store a bool is directory. And we'll set that equal to file is directory. So that way we're not having to pass it around everywhere. And then we'll do a branch. We'll do if is directory. We'll do this. And then later on we can do behaviors for files inside of this else block. Okay, and then yeah, I think that's enough. Let's try that out. So I should be able to click on the one folder now and change the level that we're looking at. Double click, Sweet. Okay. Basics of navigation. We've still got the emoji file names and stuff. It clips off a little bit, but that's because the emojis are sized bigger than the regular text. But I don't know if I'll even do emojis support. Yeah, we'll come back to that later. But cool. So we got a way to navigate in, and it even tells us at the top test game / content / test, showing us the current working location relative to the application working directory. Now we need a way to go back up a level. So we'll say before we go to do the path here, we'll check to see whether we're in the top folder. I don't really care about performance right now. I will eventually, but for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a comparison and just do a string comparison between current path and current path.cstring and the content directory, this guy. So we'll say, I'll just copy this out. If current path equals get content directory, then we don't have the back button. Otherwise we do. Do we support, let me check this out. Do we support, does IMGUI have grayed out buttons? I'm sure it does, but I just gotta double check. Because what I could do is I could have a back button that's grayed out when you're at the top level. Widgets, basic. There's gotta be a, there's got to be a way to gray out the button. Get text line height. I'll make it a square button that's the size of the height of text, so it's in line with the text. I guess that's all the parameters it takes. I suppose there's arrow button, which is a little bit nicer. Got the string ID and the direction. Oh, that's interesting. It doesn't take a size. Okay, whatever. And the direction will be IMGUI left. Actually, let's do up. And I will add the button only if the current path is the working directory, or the content directory, or is not the content directory. I think I've got that straight. There we go. It's not equal to the content directory. We will do this guy, and then we will do GUI same line. I think it's what it's called, same line. Thank you. Like that. And then we print the path, if that makes sense. All right, cool. And then we'll do if and GUI arrow button. If it's been clicked, then we will set current path up a level. I'll comment this out for the moment. Let's confirm that the button actually looks correct. I'm not sure whether or not to expect a slash after we're inside of a folder, so let's go inside of one. Okay, we've got the arrow button, which doesn't look great, actually. It's just a triangle, so it's not exactly clear that it's an up button. At least not unless paired with the down button. So I'll want to have my own graphic for this. But yeah, when we go inside of the folder, it does not have a slash on it. And when we start, it does have a slash. So I guess we'll have to add a slash whenever we enter a folder. Yeah, let's do that here. Okay. Plus a /. All right, so well, I'll do this a little bit safer, I think. Let me, because I think this is going to be operating system specific. I can do an if on if current path dot back is not equal to a /. Then we will current path dot append a / like that. Right? Not doing it for you. It requires an STT string. How about push back? There we go. So if the string doesn't end in the slash, then we'll add it. And actually, to be extra secure, I should be doing a check against / as well. I don't actually have a guarantee whether it's a forward or a / from STD file system. But I know that it will accept both forward and / when it's in use. So we'll do this. We'll append a / if there isn't one. And then when we're dealing with the logic concerning the back button, we will know for sure that there's a / that we can go back to. Okay. I'll change the arrow on this guy left. And actually, I'm not going to use an arrow button. I'm just going to use a text button. and it's going to say, it's going to be like this. It's going to be just a emoticon arrow. And if you press it, then we'll do current path dot resize. And we're going to resize it to be the length of, going to be resized to be the position of the second to last slash minus 1, if that makes sense. So this will be current path dot find last of, and we pass in a string containing the characters we're looking for. So we're looking for a / or backslash. And then we can pass in the offset, which I believe is where we start the search. But it's going to be offset from the end. So let me quickly double check the formatting on this. Oops. Here we go. Find last of. Finds the last character equal to one of the characters. So I think I need the second overload there. So that's gonna be the string position and count is what I can supply. So position and count. So in the range S plus count. What's position used for it? Search is to finish. Okay, so pause would be the last considered character in the search from the end. Okay, I think I've got that in my head correctly. All right, so we're searching for position is going to be 1, so I at least have one character in the string. And the size is going to be current path dot size minus 1. Minus 1 because I don't want to include the final slash in the search. Okay, so this will get me the position of the last slash, or the second to last slash, not including the one at the end, that is. And I need to keep that slash in the remaining path, so I'll do a +1 at the end. Okay. I think that does it. So when I click the back button now, current path will be changed. And then that same frame, we will do everything else in service of the next path. Okay, I think that's good. Let me build it and run it. Okay. Let's double click on a folder, click back, and we've got an error. Okay, what's that? So when we go to construct current path, we've got a problem opening the path. It looks like we've cut off too much. The current path is now only the letters TE. And it should be a whole lot longer than that. Yeah, so I must have messed up my resize. I'll set a breakpoint on this resize code, and then we'll try clicking the back button again. Okay. All right, so current path is test game / content / test. It's size 22, so we'll find last of slash and backslash starting from position 1. That's the first. Actually, that may as well be 0, right? Finds the last character equal to one of the characters in the given character sequence. The search considers only the interval 0 to pause. Oh, I misunderstood. So pause actually has to be, so I've got these backwards. Let's stop that. So I need current size -1 to get the position of the last slash, and then length of character string identifying characters to search for. Oh, and that's not actually necessary because it's getting it from the size of the string. Okay, I think this is better. Yeah, this is a really quiet stream today. It was yesterday too. I'm not sure what that's about. Or not yesterday, but okay. So so it's kind of working, except for I need to lop off 2 characters instead of 1. Oh, because this range is inclusive. So the position... Okay, that's a little weird. Usually the range will be, you give it the start, then you give it the count. And in this case, it's the start and then the index of last inclusive element, which is a little weird, but... yeah, and also the button is not disappearing when I'm inside of this folder, so there's something else to worry about. So it's kind of working. When I go inside of a folder though, and I click the back button, it's lopping off that trailing slash instead of lopping off the whole section. So I have to click the back button twice, which isn't what we want. So this is an inclusive, so I have to do -2, So that way it's starting the search at the second to last character. And we have if current path is not equal to file get content directory. There must be some confusion as to forward slashes versus backslashes, because otherwise these should be identical. But let's at least confirm that the back button is working correctly now. Okay, cool. So this is starting to look more like a file browser. You can double click on a folder and then back out of it. However, the comparison between this string and current path is failing. So current path is listed as test game / content /. So content directory, content dir path is, come on, I'll have to step in, I guess, to get the value, is test game / content /. So I think it's getting screwed up on backslashes. So here's what I'll do. I'm going to enforce forward slashes throughout this code. So whenever I assign current path from the std file system, I'll immediately go through and replace the backslashes with forward slashes. Okay, current path, file.path.u8 string. So as soon as we get the path, we assign the path from the folder that we're double clicking on, we will immediately go in and replace with slashes. Actually, I could probably do one better. And before I do anything else inside of this loop, I will get an std string. Probably not going to be very performant, but I'll just do it so it'll work. We'll get an std string that is the file path. And that's going to be equal to file.path.u8 string. And then we do a replace. So we'll do std replace on file path, right? I think that's how it works. File path.begin, file path.end, and then the old value that we're going to replace is a backslash, and we'll replace every instance of the backslash with a forward slash. And then we can use file path from now on. So inside of here, when we go to push the ID, we're not doing any of that conversion. We're just doing file path.tstring. And then current path equals file path. Okay. And then we can simplify this a little bit by saying if the path that we double clicked on doesn't have a forward slash at the end of it, then we append it. Okay, I think that's good. Try that out. Okay, we've got, oh, we're hitting my breakpoint. Okay, that's fine. Continue. All right, cool. So far, so good. We don't have the back button anymore. Let's go inside the folder. Good, that's looking gravy. And if I click back, now we're in test game / content without a trailing slash. And that's why the comparison's failing, I think. Okay, we're missing a slash at the end. So, yeah, I wonder what's up with that. I'm taking off only one character from the find last of. And then that puts us in the same boat as before. What is happening? Okay, so -2 will get us, it'll start the search before the final trailing slash. We are resizing. Oh, I need to do a +1 on that size. So that way the size is got the last slash in it. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. All right. It's starting to look pretty good. Perfect. Okay, then that's working. Now we've got a back button up until we're at the topmost level. I'm going to make the icons a little bit smaller. I'm going to go into the content folder here, and I'm just going to do some nested folders. For example, oops. Control-C, then we'll do Control-V, Control-V. We'll go into one, Control-V a couple of times. And then I'll copy some of these files into these folders. Okay, and let's head back to Enterprise. And remember that Enterprise is updating this every frame, which isn't very efficient, but it lets me just immediately see the status of the folder. Okay, so is there nothing inside of the example folder? Oh, I didn't put anything in there. Okay, good, okay. So it's starting to look pretty nice. Hey Jolo, welcome in. You're starting to enjoy it, that's good. Careful, that's a slippery slope to being good at it and making a lot of money at it. There we go. What are you working on? What's got you so excited? Okay, that's looking great. In the installed version of the engine, I think this is going to be a full path anyway, but I'm not worried about that for the moment. Okay. I'm actually kind of annoyed that these look so similar. I'm going to just go ahead and get a folder icon working. I'm not working on anything specifically, but I'm on a 6th YouTube video, just learned about namespaces. Nice, yes. Namespaces, for me, namespaces came embarrassingly late to my education for some reason. So namespaces have been around forever, but it's not part of C++ 98, and so there was a time when C++ 11 wasn't being taught in a lot of places, so they would just kind of skip over that stuff. But yeah, namespaces are great. They're an amazingly helpful organizational tool. Every language should have namespaces. But yeah, look at this. Look at this, Joel. I'm feeling pretty nice about this. I got a thing where I can do icons of any given size inside of the content folder, and I can navigate by double-clicking on folders, and that's nice. That's cool. That's something I haven't done before. But yeah, I'm glad to hear you're picking up C++. That does my heart good. Okay, let me just go ahead and get a folder icon going so I can just tab one. I'll use something that's probably not free for me to use just to have an icon, and then I'll come up with a nice one later on. That looks fine. I'll do a full color one. How about that? Okay, that's a really clean looking folder icon. It's a PNG, so it's not vector, but what's the resolution on it? 512, that's not bad. Probably way bigger than I need it to be, but I'll use it. You know what I was surprised about? The similarities between Python and C++. Yeah, how so? What similarities are you spotting? Editor, content, paste. So I've got a folder.png to use. Let's head back to the code. And then instead of doing an icon that just says the word folder, we will do an image button. Or should I say the similarities of modern programming languages? Yeah. A lot of languages learn off of each other and learn from each other's mistakes. So they tend to have a lot of features in common. Was there anything particularly surprising about what you found C++ has in common with Python? All right, so I'm going to do a image button. I don't actually know how these work. Let's find an example of it. Go to IamGui demo, image button. The only real difference between Python and C++ is that Python's variables are dynamic and C++'s aren't. Can you clarify what you mean by dynamic? Because the technical term dynamic does totally apply to C++, but it might not. Might not be thinking about what you're thinking about. Image button, my text ID. I think this has to be the address of a texture inside of OpenGL memory. It is. Okay. So I'll have to bring in my graphics API for this. Let's do it. Enterprise/graphics/textures. And we are going to load the font texture. So we'll do this in the initialization. I'll need a static EP graphics texture handle, folder text, and then inside of the init we'll call folder text equals EP graphics load texture. Oh, I misspelled graphics. Load texture. And the path is going to be EC for the editor content folder. EC slash, I can't remember if it's capitalized. folder capitalized .png. In CPP, you have to tell the compiler what type of variable x is, and in Python, you have to declare. Yeah, okay. So that's something called type safety. Dynamic actually is actually a term that means something else in C++. Just to give you a heads up. But yeah, type safety is a major feature of C++, and C, and a lot of compiled languages. Interpretive languages, they oftentimes will they'll lack type. They're not strongly typed, is what the terminology is. And a non-strongly typed language like Python lets you be ambiguous about your types. But yeah, when you get to the zeros and ones, there's a very big reason why C and C++ in them use strong types instead of just the quote-unquote dynamically typed stuff. I also like the ability to lock variables with a constant. Yeah, access modifiers is a very, very useful feature. Strong types are a lot faster. Yeah, and they're also predictable in ways that are important. When you get down to object-oriented stuff, the construction of classes and structs, you'll eventually start thinking about your memory layout, like exactly where the ones and zeros go in memory when you allocate one of those structs or classes. And so knowing their type, having a strongly typed type is very, very helpful for that. But yeah, totally. Okay. But I need to specify a few more things. Do using texture filter and using EP graphics bitmap mode. All right, and then I can do texture filter is going to be linear, and then texture filter is also going to be linear, and then bitmap mode we'll do nearest. Actually, the magnification should probably be nearest as well. All right. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Now I've got a texture. This is an OpenGL handle, which means I can actually just pass that directly into IMGUI, I think. I hope. IMGUI IM texture ID. I believe I can just pass this in and then cast it. And then I can do const imvec2 reference size. Right, so this will be literally this. Actually, I use this so often, I should store it up above. As an imvec2. Like that. Next thing on the list is how to properly include libraries and stuff like that. Yep. Can't just pip install. Yeah, it's a little more complicated than that. My biggest, I would say this is my strongest gripe with C++ over everything else is that there's no universal way to set up a build system. It sucks, but there isn't. The closest thing that we've got is CMake. Has some utilities that are useful for finding and including packages, but it's not itself a package manager. Then there's a couple of other things like NuGet is very popular on Visual Studio for installing libraries and using them. But yeah, it takes quite a bit of practice to get used to including libraries in your projects. And almost every time you're going to be spending a while reading the instructions of that library anyway to make sure that it works correctly or that it's being added correctly. Yeah, it sucks, but that's just the way it is, and I don't see it changing for C++. Okay. Now I can use icon dim or icon dims for any place that I was using the size before. When are you gonna make an extension installer? Yeah, I mean, it's not that there aren't good solutions, it's that nobody agrees on them. So if everybody in the world used NuGet, or used Git submodules, or used any other package manager, then there'd be no issues because you just learn the one way, then you do it. All of the package managers out there are great at what they do for the most part, the ones that are in wide use. It's just that you're gonna eventually want to run into a situation where you want to use a library that you want to use two libraries that use two different package managers in the same project, and then you have to wrangle with all of them, and that's the worst part. Okay, I think I can actually leave the rest as their defaults for the image button. I'm gonna go back to Python then. Yeah, it's sad, but you just kind of have to deal with it. And then on this one, I'll just say icon. Cool. All right, image button and then button. And then if it's a folder and if you double click it, then we do the same logic as before. Blah 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 blah. Okay. Hopefully this works. I have a feeling I've overlooked something, but give it a shot. Okay, got some compilation errors. Oh. I was thinking that to implicitly convert to float instead of having to do the explicit float in parentheses. But in order for me to make that work, it had to be parentheses, whatever. All right, cool. So we got a folder icon. It is upside down. That's interesting. Did I have to flip the UVs before? Let me take a look at the game view real quick, where I do add image. Vmin dot. Oh, I did. I had to actually reverse the UVs to make it work with my. Hang on. So, add image. So the UV min, UV max. So I actually had to flip vertically on my UVs. That's okay. I'll just do that here. But yeah, we got a folder icon. That's nice. It's just the wrong way. I wonder if imconfig has something about this. I guess not. Because it'd be nice if I could just have IMGUI and my code agree on which way is up. UV coordinates used by the font system assume that 0, 0 is the top left and 1, 1 is the bottom right. When you make libraries, when is it better to raise an error, and when is it better to just do it even though the user did it wrong? Well, that's a judgment call, for sure. When I think about a problem that I'm trying to decide whether to allow execution or whether I had to stop, I think, is it possible for me to allow execution? Because if you enter a bad program state where you know for sure that if the user keeps using the program, that they're going to run into a critical problem and everything is just going to get worse and worse and worse, then you should raise an error, because that tells the developer that something has very, very gone wrong. And also, it's not going to let them accidentally keep using the program in a bad state. I issue warnings whenever it's possible to recover. Well, actually, that's not entirely accurate. I'll issue a non-fatal error if we are in a bad state and we can recover from it. I'll issue a warning if we haven't entered a bad state, but the circumstances suggest that there could be a problem or something is being used in an unexpected way, something like that. But yeah, it's ultimately a judgment call. You'll have to determine for yourself whether something would break the program, whether something is a bad state that you can recover from, or whether that thing is just a sign that something is being used incorrectly or something like that. There's a whole bunch of people opening up issues on, oh help, it's the textures displaying upside down, and they're just like not realizing at all that this is a thing that everybody has to deal with. I've never understood how people like don't Google for an answer before they write a bug report, right? This is not IMGUI. It's a program that uses IMGUI, it looks like, but still, I mean, why would you say, oh no, your program's wrong because my image is upside down? Okay. Anyway, it doesn't look like there's a flag or something that I can set in IMGUI to have it automatically do lower left and upper right for the UVs, so I'll just have to do that myself again. It's not a huge deal. So here we got the image button, and we'll add the vec lower left and vec upper right. In this case, we'll be doing 1.0, or sorry, 0.0, 1.0, and then vec2 for 0, or 1, 0. And actually, these are implicitly converted anyway, so I'll just make this a little bit easier on my eyes and just do integer types, and then we can ignore the padding for now. Is that better? What's the problem? Casts to void star from smaller integer type. AP graphics texture handle. If the user tries to add up strings, i.e. 12 plus 11, would you just build in a conversion in that case? Someone does that for some reason. Well, so actually that can be totally valid code if they're using a C++ string. This is because of operator overloading. So yeah, so I think that's not at the heart of your question though. If assuming that those are C literals, and not used in a situation where they might automatically be converted to strings, then yeah, that would generate a problem. Would you just build in a conversion in case someone does that for some reason? So I think I understand the question that you have in principle, but for that exact example, you would do nothing, and there's a couple of reasons why. The first is that if you do something like this, we're doing like the string example equals file path plus tada. There's operator overloading in the std string class that automatically will append this string to this one with the plus operator, even though it's not literally adding these values. And I think I might be able to do something like this too. Let me double check. Okay, no, I can't in this case. It has to be one of the operands has to be an std string. So that's technically fine. But if you were to do something like this, where it's multiple C strings being added together, that won't compile anyway in most cases. And if you find a situation in which it will compile, a compiler warning will pop up to tell the user, hey, this is probably badly written code, even though we can compile and run. And that's when you see these little yellow squiggles appear underneath the code. So that specific example doesn't apply either way. I think in principle, though, your question was about like if you were to catch whether something like that would count as a warning or a error. As we went through all of those different examples, you could see that it depends on the situation. If you get into a bad state, a bad program state by the user doing something, then that should be an error. If you are in a situation that seems a little bit iffy but it'll still work, then you issue a warning. That's my rule of thumb. I hope that made sense. Bad state meaning you're in that your program has entered a situation that it knows it shouldn't be in. The bad state, it's Florida, yeah. That's always the correct answer to that question, regardless of context. But it's like if you can tell by the situation that the program shouldn't be in this state. It shouldn't be, for example, I shouldn't be constructing more than one runtime, for example, at one time. That would be a bad state if I detect two. So basically anything that, and this is entirely subjective. It has to do with how you intend your library to be used. If you detect that your library is being used incorrectly, a bad state is a situation that you have to work to reverse, I guess is a good way to draw the line. So if they're using the API in a way that seems problematic, but you don't have to do any work to fix it, then I would issue a warning. If you have to actively protect the user against something to get it into a good state so that it's working correctly, then I would issue an error. But yeah, I've got a warning, I think, from the cast from the texture handle to IamTexture ID, which I wasn't expecting. How did I do that in the game view? I did a reinterpret cast. That's the more correct C++y way. This, by the way, is an example of why you might use something like a reinterpret cast on a type. Reinterpret cast does the same thing as the C style cast I was just doing. So previously, what I had was okay. There we go. We got the folders or got icons now. Sorry, back on track. What I was doing before, where I was just doing I am texture ID inside of parentheses, like that, like this. This is a C style cast, and it will cast this type to that type, but the compiler is saying, hey, hang on, I'm not sure if this is gonna produce the behavior that you think it will. So when I use reinterpret cast instead, the compiler understands that, yes, I am intentionally taking the bits from this and directly casting them to this type, and it doesn't give me a warning. It works the same either way. It's just that it's trying to protect me from doing something unintentional. Okay. Sweet. So that's kind of better. It looks like the sprite's being cut off a little bit, though. Yeah, let me look at that. Now that I can tell that it's the icon's not... Oh, hang on. The icons are actually different sizes now. This is no longer actually the size of the texture, or the size of the icon. Is it worth learning all of the errors for correct error raising? Well, the short answer is no. The second answer is that there's no such thing as all of the errors. There's no definitive list of errors. When you're making your own library, you have to decide how to report errors. So you can make you can add and remove any arbitrary number of error types. It's actually not very common for a library to stick to somebody else's standard for error reporting. The one case where you might is with exceptions, because there is in the standard library, there's a number of standard exceptions. If you're looking at STD exception, like you can see in STD exception, there's a bunch of them. There's logic error, invalid argument, domain error, whatever. And if you're working with exceptions, then yeah, you can use these. You can also define your own. But if you're working on a library and you want to use exceptions, and I would discourage the use of exceptions for the most part, because exceptions are not generally used for, not generally good to have for runtime error catching, in my opinion. Then you probably would want to use one of these, so that way you're not reinventing the wheel, so to speak. But when it comes to like C style error reporting, I don't even think that the C standard library has a errors. There's error numbers you can pass to. You can pass error numbers out your program, and sometimes there's depending on the situation that you're using your program in, you may want to adhere to somebody else's standard. For example, like test-driven development, you might want your test program to return a certain value. Oh, and there's also error no. That's right, I forgot about that. This is the C style of error reporting, and there's actually a number of these. But yeah, definitely don't spend your time learning all of the errors. Just like if you want to use one of the standard or somebody else's standard of reporting, then you should at that time Google and look up the best fitting error. But yeah, nobody really has all those memorized. Yeah, anyway, the size of the padding is a problem. So with the image, so I'm getting padding on this button that I'm not getting on this button. So I could either add padding to the icon without an image, or I can get rid of it on the image button. Let me do a quick comparison. I'll set the size of this to be, I don't know, 128. Make it a power of 2. And then I'll do a print screen, open up paint.net, and then I'll do a pixel measurement to confirm what I should be seeing. Okay. So on the empty icon, selected area. Okay, so the area that I've selected is actually not 128. Oh, 105. Did I leave it at 105? I left it at 105. Okay, so this area is exactly 105 pixels. And then on this, apparently we are adding padding around the image size. So when I pass in the image size to this button, yeah, this is 113 by 111. That's weird. That's a bit strange. How big is the, let me find the image itself. Properties, details. Yeah, so the image is 512 by 512. So the discrepancy I'm seeing here, I think the vertical padding is bigger than the horizontal padding. But if we select around that edge to edge, 105 on the width, 97 on the height. So yeah, we probably just need to set the buffer to 0. Oh yeah, hang on. Okay, I think I'm understanding what's happening here. 105. Okay, yeah. So actually the icon itself has to have some white space on the top and bottom. It's transparent, so it's not so easy to see here. But if I open in a new tab, yeah, so there's white space on the bottom here. So this is actually not part of the padding. The padding is still square, but there's a little bit of extra white space on the image itself. Okay, all right, I'm following. So if I just set the padding to 0, then this should be edge to edge, perfect. I'll just do that, and that should be fine. That should do exactly what I want. And there's still going to be padding between the buttons, independent of the frame. Thanks for looking, Joel. And that's just an integer. Okay. Let's run that. Okay. And I think I want to get rid of that background color as well. So it accepts a vec4. I can probably do There's probably a color for this. Okay, yeah. So there's a define for this that I can use. I am color32 underscore black underscore trans. So this is a transparent black, which is good in this case. That should implicitly convert, right? No suitable constructor exists from unsigned int to IamVec4. Okay, here. Oh, that's right here. So this defines as okay, so using IamCol32 black trans will actually do a U32 type, which is different than what I need for the IamVec4. Okay, so there's no helper for this. I do have to just myself do construct the color. That's okay, it's not a huge problem. It just would have been a little bit nicer for me to have the word black or transparent black here. And I'll leave the tint color to be the default. Let's see how that goes. That's not actually doing what I thought it would. Oh, okay, that's... So when I set the tint color to 0, I guess that's actually the color, like multiplied against the texture color, or something like that, because I set it to 0 and it went fully transparent. Okay, so there's gotta be a different properties to set for this button. I think I know what it is. I think I'm gonna need to push IMGUI, push color, or push style color, yeah. And then I need IMGUI color, and we'll set the background or BG, something BG, frame BG. I guess it's frame BG. We'll set it to be a IMVec4 that's black and transparent. And then down here we'll say, oops, IMGUI pop style color, like that. Let's try that out. If that doesn't work, I think I've got to fish to figure out which ID I need to change. Okay, that didn't help. So let's do tools, style editor, colors. Okay, so there's window, child. So it might be window BG, child BG, or pop-up BG. Probably window BG is my guess. Is it possible for me to inspect? I guess I could just change the color and see whether it changes. So that's window BG. Frame BG? No, that's not it either. Title. Button? Ah, okay, button. I need to change button to be black and transparent. Okay. So it's literally just called button. Alright, let's do that. Button. So we're setting the button color to black and transparent. Okay, cool. And now we can see that it'll highlight with the border when I mouse over it, but until I do that, it's actually just transparent. Cool. All right. These are kind of big to begin with, so yeah. Okay, it looks like we aren't out of the woods completely. We've still got some spacing issues. With the icon. So it's still, we still have a border. And I thought that I took care of that. Oh, I accidentally got rid of it. Whoopsie. So let's build that again. And this time around it should be perfect. All right, cool. Now everything is lining up rather nicely. The folder icon is never getting cut off, and it winds up being the same size as everything else. Got some weird filtering going on, though, which I don't like. Yeah, let me turn the minification to linear. I'm not by nature a graphics programmer. I know the basics, so sometimes I'll do something stupid and not realize it until later. Okay, there we go. The minification filter being on linear makes that a lot nicer looking. This is a 512 by 512 size, so it's always being minified in this case. So yeah, cool. Sweet. Oh, and that's interesting. The title bar, I should get this to be fixed to the top of the window. So I should make the scrollable section below this separator. let's do that. Well, actually, I don't know how to do that, so let's look at the demo. Window layout and scrolling. Okay. Child windows, widgets width, groups, scrolling. Okay. Yeah, so I guess what we do is we'll do a child window within this window. So let's see how that works. Okay. All right, child one, no border, blah, 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 blah. So we got a scope, we set some window flags, we give it a horizontal scroll bar. That's interesting. Allow horizontal scroll bar to appear. Oh, okay. It's not saying that there will be one, it's saying that one is allowed. There it is. I actually don't think I need one. Yeah, I shouldn't need one, so I'll disallow that myself. If disable mouse wheel, then we'll say window flags, no scroll with mouse. That seems to be okay. That's regarding that check. So I do want that to scroll, so I will not set that. I will set my own window flags though. All right, so let me start copying some of this code over, and we'll do some customizations while I am doing that. Okay, so beneath the separator, we are now gonna do a sub window. So window flags, we'll set that equal to IamGUI window flags underscore no scroll, horizontal scroll bar. Allow horizontal scroll bar to appear. Oh, and it's off by default, so actually I don't need to disable that manually. Okay, so we do an IamGUI begin child, give it a name. I do IamGUI get content region available. Okay, we specify the size of the space. So we get, in this case, they were doing get content region avail times X, doing half the width of the available content region, and then a fixed height. I'll need to define my own height. Border, you have to set that to false. Well, it's default, false by default. And then window flags, that's only if I need to pass in something custom, and I don't want that. Okay, so that's actually easy enough. I just do IamGUI, give it a name, give it a size. So underneath the separator then, we'll do IamGUI begin child, pass in navigation region. The size is going to be, I'll have to calculate that, so I'll say nav region size. And then we'll set it up here. IamVec2 nav region size. We'll set that equal to, well, we'll construct it from, that'd be IamGUI get region, or get content region avail. So this retrieves all of the space from the cursor to the end of the region. Dot X, we're going to make it the full width of the content region. The height, actually, you know what? I can just pass it in straight up, can't I? Let me try that. So the child will just fill the remaining space. Okay, and then ImGui and child. Like that. And then inside I can do whatever I want, which is actually just to continue doing what I was doing. So let me cut this. And then at the end of this region, I'll do ImGui and child. Now I don't have to scope this, but I'm going to, just to make it a little bit easier to read. You can do a fold here. Yeah, okay, cool. Let's try that out. Got a problem. Yep, I forgot to hit a semicolon. I need the semicolon. Do that again. Okay. So now we're getting somewhere. So this subregion works fine. However, there's an issue with the text. The text is not being clipped like it should be. So there's a problem with the clipping region. That was done with a custom region. Push clip rect. Oh, that must be what this last boolean is for. Intersect with current clip rect. So this means that it'll be a clip in addition to the original clip rect. That makes sense. Let's try that. You know, given that I've never really used ImGui for this kind of thing before, I'm really impressed with how easy it is to put something together like this. Okay, cool. And that clip rectangle is working perfectly. Rad. Okay. So this is actually looking pretty robust now. I can navigate in and out of folders. I have custom icons for the folders. I can change the icon size, and it automatically resizes the number of columns that we have and puts it in a nice little grid. If it gets to be too big, I can scroll and not lose the path at the top. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the work I've got done so far. Yeah, so there's obviously a lot more to do still. All we've got here is the ability to navigate. I need the ability to open and close scene files from here, and drag and drop and do things like that. And then we'll eventually need to be able to do even more advanced things like drag and drop, like references to files or references to things like that into like inspector fields. So going back into the scene that we've been testing this whole time with all this business, we were setting up the sprite component inspector, and one of the things that it needs is the ability to specify your texture. What I wanted to have here was the ability to reference a file inside of the content browser. And so I need the ability, for example, to drag and drop a content browser icon onto one of these fields and then have it take that reference, which is something that you can do in Unity, for example. I can take this guy and drag it into the inspector and drop it anywhere that takes an object reference. Like that, I can drop it into Anchor Override, which I don't know what that does because that's a light probes thing and I've never worked with it. But yeah, I think this is a good stopping point. I'm at 4 hours now. Yeah, and actually really impressed with how nicely this panel's come together. I'm really pleased with myself. To be able to whip out something like this, like relatively quickly, for given that I had only a passing understanding of this library. So I think IMGUI is a good choice because however quickly I'm able to do stuff in here, people who have been working with IMGUI for years will be able to work way faster. So when they go to make their own custom inspectors and custom editors inside of the enterprise editor, they'll be able to put together stuff very quickly. All right. Thanks for stopping by, Jolo and Nobi. I'll be back on probably the day after tomorrow, but we'll see.